Our favorite albums of 2022.
I don't think it'll take that long.
You don't think it'll take that long?
Nah.
He doesn't have much to say. I didn't like it. That's all he's gonna say.
I mean, I don't have much to say, but I did listen to it.
All right, then you go first.
At least. All right, yeah, Lizzy McAlpine's "Call Me Maybe."
Okay.
What's it called?
Hey, call it the right fucking thing.
5 seconds flat. Where everything's lowercase.
All right, so let me just try to assume. I want you to do the same thing for me, but I'm gonna guess what your favorite song on the album was and what your least favorite song on the album was before you even talk about it.
Okay.
So I think finding your favorite or guessing your favorite song was a lot harder than finding your least favorite. But I think purely because of the big moment in the middle, I think Firearm might have been your favorite. With the big like rock electric guitar stuff in the middle. And I think your least favorite was Reckless Driving.
Well, you're half right.
Okay. Well, I feel like I think I'm right about the least favorite, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Reckless Driving I didn't really like. Only because I thought the lyrics were kind of dumb.
Yeah, they're a little cheesy. I will be the first to admit, because I listened to this album again last night too. I think the lyricism, while, no, I'm not even gonna. You talk about it. This is your first impression.
Okay, yeah, when you mentioned that this, like the whole feel of this album was kind of like Billie Eilish, I got really fucking nervous.
Yeah.
Because not a fan. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
And with a song like Ego Thing, that kind of reminded me of that kind of style, and I didn't really like that track either. But most of the album, I'd say, wasn't too bad.
Yeah?
Like you said, that one you mentioned, but I also kind of liked the really slow ones like Called You Again and Chemtrails.
Yeah.
Where we're just kind of like really basic. Like Nick Drake, but like more simple.
Yeah.
You know? I thought those were better. Like my favorite songs. But yeah, overall, I mean, I liked where it was more basic more than the other stuff. You know? And like, okay, this is like the third album you've made me listen to.
Yeah.
And I think it's in the middle of the other two.
So Harry Styles is on the bottom.
Oh, not fucking. I was thinking of Paramore.
Paramore?
I guess Harry Styles.
Oh yeah.
Too.
Oh, are you talking about the
After Laughter or whatever.
Your favorite albums?
Yeah.
Okay, so After Laughter goes on bottom. This is above that?
Yeah.
And then what's above Lizzy?
Nick Drake.
And then Nick Drake. Okay.
Yeah.
That's I probably could have predicted that. Yeah, I figured I'm trying to find my notes from about Lightwork. But while there it is. So I figured you wouldn't be a huge fan of this album, but I was really hoping that when I was listening back to it, I was like, okay, I know you really like strings and string parts. I thought you would like Chemtrails because Chemtrails is a really sweet song, and it's like, I think it's some of the best writing on the album because it feels very intimate and like personal. I was listening back. Lizzy likes to write about kissing a lot. It's like almost every single song has a line about how I kissed you or you kissed me, you know. I think my favorite songs are some of the more up-tempo ones. I like All My Ghosts a lot, and I like Orange Show Speedway a lot. And I've noticed in my own writing that I tend to be influenced by who my favorite artist is at the time, and for a little bit it was Lizzy. And so she has this style of writing where like there's a story in the lyrics but also in the music, you know? So like there will be sections that will come back, like verses and choruses, but sometimes like the chorus will have different lyrics and it'll be like quieter and maybe it's just like one instrument. Like in All My Ghosts it does that. I think Weird is also a good track. I think out of like the featured tracks on this album, my favorite is Weird, because like the Phineas feature on Hate to Be Lame is okay. You know, he only like pops out of like background vocals at the end. And the Jacob Collier feature, as much as I fucking love Erase Me, I feel like I couldn't really tell that it was Jacob Collier because he was just singing like background vocals and like harmonies and stuff. But yeah, so I'm glad you liked most of the album, or at least didn't think it was that bad. 'Cause I know it's kind of a departure for you, you know, to hear not only like a pop album, but like a bedroom pop album where a lot of it is like in the box and very like, it's kind of experimental in the way that it's recorded, you know, like there's a lot of production hooks and stuff, but it doesn't feel too like poppy. And honestly, I kind of thought the fact that The Weeknd made it in your top 10 like of all time was like a little hopeful for me, because I'm like, okay, well there's a little bit of like pop sensibilities in your music taste now. So I'm just glad to hear that you liked it more than, you know, I thought you were going to say I didn't like it at all, you know?
No.
But, you know, the more and more I listened to it, I was like, oh yeah, that little string thing at the end of, is that Weird or Ceilings? No, no, Called You Again. Called You Again. The strings at the end of Called You Again was really good. So, anyway. Yeah. Would you ever go see Lizzy live if she came to Chicago?
Maybe.
Okay.
Like, there's definitely people I'd rather see less, you know?
Okay. Sweet. Well, you know,
I think it'd be kind of neat.
Because we talked about how sometimes it takes seeing an artist live to really fully appreciate their studio recordings.
Yeah.
So she's coming to the Riviera in March, I think. And we've been there. We saw the Tenacious D at the Riviera. So I was like, yeah, if I can cop some tickets, maybe we can go.
I think the shirt I'm wearing under this, it's Opeth. I got that. I saw them at the Riviera too.
Yeah, dude, I got to go back to the Riviera.
I've seen Ghost there. Man, I've been there a handful of times.
Yeah, this would, if we went, it would be my second time there. And I've only ever gone with you, funny enough. So I'm glad you liked it. I want you to guess what my favorite track and my least favorite track on Lightwork were.
Least favorite, I would assume it'd be like Heartbreaker or Children of God, because that one's really long.
Okay.
And I know you're always like, I don't really like the longer songs. But to be fair, the last 2 minutes are like ambient shit.
Yeah.
But it's still like 8 minutes at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And Heartbreaker only because that's my least favorite.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But favorite, Jesus Christ. Maybe like Vacation, or Call of the Void, maybe.
Okay.
There's some fun lyrics. I like the lyrics in that song. I don't know, man. They're all very similar, so it's kind of hard trying to decipher like a favorite song, which is why I think of it as like a whole package.
Interesting. All right. Well, you were you mentioned a couple that so I definitely have a favorite and a least favorite, and then I have some honorable mentions. My least favorite, I think, Children of God is up there. Not because it's, I think part of the reason is because it's really long. But another reason is it just kind of feels like a drone, you know, like it doesn't really feel like it has like a traditional song structure. So that's where it kind of got me, was because it goes on, but like there's enough happening that I enjoy it more than my least favorite song, which is Heavy Burden. I do not like Heavy Burden very much at all. I think part of it is the children singing. I've never really liked children singing in songs because it always reminds me of that one scene from Step Brothers where fucking Ben from Parks and Rec is singing with his family in the car and they're doing Sweet Child of Mine. There's just something about hearing a child sing like that, like with a solo, that just, it sounds like it's so grating to me. There's a little bit of like child prodigy hating in there, because I'm like, I was never that good at anything as a kid, you know? So fuck you. Why are you so good? But I also think the same issues that I have with Children of God are in Heavy Burden too. Like, it just kind of keeps going on, and I can't really make out the lyrics. You know, it just sounds like, you know, the whole, yeah. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because I didn't really think this through before. Yeah, my favorite on the album, I think, is Dimensions, actually.
That's my favorite too.
I really fucking like Dimensions. I think
it's like the only one that's like different enough.
Yeah.
Where there's like the machinery sounding thing, and it's heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite song too.
It is it's so cool, it's so heavy, and it's like, it's so energetic, and it just keeps moving, you know? And it's like, if I am going to listen to instrumental music or like songs that are longer than like 4 minutes long, for me at least, like, there has to be something interesting happening in the song to warrant the length, you know? Like, if it's a solo, I fucking love songs with long solos. If there's an interesting like melodic thing happening, you know, and layering happening, then I am super into it. Or if the energy is super high, you know, or it keeps changing energy. So I like Dimensions because it's like, it's heavy all throughout. And it's relatively shorter, I feel like. It's what, like 4.5 minutes, 5 minutes? Yeah. Something like that. But yeah, I think my second favorite would be Vacation, just because for me, that sounds like the most different on the album. And there's also something about like the acoustic guitar and like the pedal tone, like in the, you know, lower register, like when the chord changes happen. Plus I feel like that has a pretty easily recognizable like verse and chorus structure, which like I'm super used to. So I really like that. But I will say so this is not a comprehensive like review by any means, because I only ever listened to the whole thing once, and I went back to a couple of tracks just to like make sure they were my favorite or my least favorite. Yeah, as a whole, I think for me, I would have to listen to another Devin album, because honestly, I disagree that it kind of feels like a whole thing, like a whole package. Cause I heard different influences from different artists on different songs, and that kept it from being like one cohesive experience for me. Cause I was just going from track to track, and I was like, oh, okay, so this track sounds a lot like Pink Floyd, or like this track sounds a little bit like U2, or this, you know, whatever. And I want to give more credit to Devin as a musician, because I know you really like him. And you've even said that this isn't your favorite album from him. But yeah, for me, it was just kind of hard to get into, because I felt like I didn't hear enough of like a consistent voice throughout. But I will say, I did really like his singing voice. I don't know how old the dude is, but he has some really, really strong pipes. And yeah, his lyric writing is very interesting. I think the word that comes to mind when I was listening to most of this album is like epic. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Like, sometimes, you know, you'll hear like an epic version of like a classic rock song in like a Marvel movie trailer or something, and it's like it's got the like the horns, or it's got like a choir singing, you know, or it's got like strings, but like orchestral strings, you know. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and I feel like this album has a little bit of both, where like there's like that epic sound, you know, and sometimes it sounds a little forced, like trying to make a song sound like. I really liked the way that Celestial Signals started out, because it kind of sounded like it was going to be this like this groovy, you know, like electronic like dance track, and then you get, you know, 45 seconds in or whatever, and it's got like the big horns and the choir, and I'm like, dude, I kind of wish there was less of that, you know. I kind of wish he went in the direction that he stayed in at the beginning. But overall, I mean, I think it's a pretty good album. I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10, you know, something like that. There are definitely tracks that I would go back to and listen to again. Like I favorited Dimensions. So like, you know, when I go back and listen to my liked songs on Spotify, like that'll come up, you know, and I'll probably go back and listen to Vacation every once in a while. And I did really like the end of Children of God. Like the ambiance was really cool. Cause I'm a sucker for beach noises and the beach, like itself. I just remember, so when I was listening to it, I was tracking like how long it was on my car's, you know, like heads up display. And I was like, is this dude really going to try to hit the 10-minute mark and then stop there? Is that why the ambiance is going on for so long? And it actually goes until what, like 10:03?
Yeah.
Something like that. And I was like, oh, okay. So maybe it wasn't just to get to 10 minutes. But I thought that would have been so funny if he was like, I'm going to stop right at 10 minutes, but the ambiance needs to be this long because the song ended like a minute and a half ago. But yeah, dude, if you have any other like Devin albums to recommend me, please do. 'Cause if there are any albums that sound like Dimensions, but it's just like 9 of them, you know, then like I'm into that. Because I also noticed that there wasn't a Devin album that was in your top 10 of all time, right?
No. That's hard because, I mean, the dude has like 26 albums.
Yeah.
And each one of them is very distinct.
Yeah.
So trying to pinpoint one to give you would be really difficult.
Well, and here's the last thing that I'll say about Devin as a musician.
I'll keep Dimensions in mind when trying to think of one.
Okay. Or Vacation, honestly. I don't know how many soft albums he's ever done, but like
there's a few.
Okay, cuz I really like it was soft without it sounding like he was trying to imitate someone else. So like obviously he's comfortable writing softer music, where sometimes like a rock artist or a metal artist will try to write a song on an acoustic guitar and it just sounds like, you know, it just sounds like if they were to try to write a song, but instead of an electric guitar, they used an acoustic, you know, it just sounds like an acoustic metal song. But no, this guy's obviously comfortable like writing softer songs that, you know, don't fit into his typical style. But I wanted to ask you, does he play like with a lot of other people? Like, is he featured as a musician in different bands?
So sometimes, but he has a lot of people featured in his music.
Okay. Because I was going to say, there are musicians that, like, they play for other people, or, like, they're, you know, mostly, like, prominent on one instrument, and then they, like, record their own solo stuff. And what happens with those artists is, in their own solo stuff, they'll take songs and riffs and ideas that they wrote for other projects or other bands or whatever, and then they'll just like make songs out of that. And I was a little worried because it sounded like there was a little bit of that on Lightwork, where like maybe Devin had an idea for a song for another artist and then, you know, it got scrapped or whatever. But I wanted to make sure, like, if he doesn't like really play with other people in like other projects, then I don't think that's the actual like thing here. And I could be wrong, but Yeah. Overall, I liked it though.
Nice.